A very interesting question was posed to me in my Twitch chat a couple days ago, and someone asked me if I think that we are at the lowest point in the history of the Battlefield franchise. And I paused to think for a couple seconds, and my initial answer was no, because that would have to be the release of Battlefield 2042, right? Like, if you're going to talk about the lowest point ever, I think that's what a lot of people would say, or maybe people would just say Battlefield 2042 in general. But then I thought for a little while longer after that, and I think he actually might be correct. I think we might actually be in the lowest point in the Battlefield franchise right now. And there are some statistics to sort of back this up. In today's video, I'll be going over some very depressing points of data, and we'll be discussing everything that's going to be happening with Battlefield, everything that has happened with 2042, what's to come, and whether or not this is the definitive lowest point in the Battlefield franchise. So if you somehow don't get depressed and enjoy the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders and on this YouTube channel. Be sure to turn notifications on to know when I go live. Hope to see some of you guys swing by the stream. The first thing I want to address in this video is the fact that there is not going to be any Battlefield gameplay in the background of the video, and the answer to that is very simple. I'm simply not going to play Battlefield 2042 if Delta Force is available to play. You know, that's just, I don't think anyone can really blame me, so I hope you guys enjoy the Delta Force gameplay. The second thing I'd like to address is whenever there is a down period between Battlefield games, I feel as though it's not as desolate or as depressing as this period of downtime between Battlefield 2042 and the next Battlefield game at the end of 2025 is going to be. For instance, I remember when they canceled updates on Battlefield 4, then we had to wait for a while, for Hardline and Battlefield 1 and all that sort of thing, but there's always some sort of news or hype event or something to look forward to, and just to be honest, Battlefield 4 was a much, much, much better game than this, so I feel like the player base wasn't as depressed and distraught and displaced as they are now. And the answer to that is very simple. They're coming off of a much better game. The player base is in better spirits. I think with the back-to-back failure releases of Battlefield 5 and 2042, the player base has just been absolutely hammered. So many people have left. So many people just simply don't care anymore. And the worst part is, that's only part of this story. We haven't even looked at the Google trend data for Battlefield compared to some other games yet. More on that later. But let's talk about what's going on with Battlefield 2042 and Battlefield to come. So, as you might remember, Battlefield 2042 confusingly ended its support on Season 7. Even I thought that the game would get a Season 8. I thought it was strange for them to end on Season 7, with the game having 4 seasons, and then I thought they would do 4 extra seasons, but they didn't. They canceled it in Season 7. And the only thing going on with Battlefield 2042 right now is they're reusing events that we've already played, and they're trying to put more skins in the game to siphon as much money as possible out of Battlefield 2042. So very typical EA. So, boom, Battlefield 2042 is dead, not getting updated aside from very insignificant and irrelevant updates that don't do anything. And then, what do we have to look forward to? Okay, let's discuss that. So, the next Battlefield game, first of all, it's been delayed a year. Just a full year. I personally thought the next Battlefield game would be releasing at the end of 2024. That would have been the quote-unquote traditional release cycle, but they delayed the game a year, and it's most likely going to be releasing at the end of 2025. So right then and there, that's a full extra year of downtime, with literally nothing happening. And the only saving grace that isn't even related to Battlefield is the fact that Delta Force Hawk Ops is likely to release at the end of 2024. That is the only saving grace for the displaced and depressed Battlefield player base. And even a lot of people that play Battlefield aren't that interested in Delta Force, which is very confusing to me, but, pick your poison. But going back to the next Battlefield real quick, we should all remember that Marcus Leto was brought on to work on the single player, and he had his own studio. Then he left EA, tweeted that he had nothing nice to say about EA. EA then shut his studio down without him expecting that. Then Marcus Leto tweeted that he was probably going to retire, or at least thinking about it. And then fast forward to a couple days ago, we hear murmurs and whispers of a job listing relating to some sort of open world elements at EA that may or may not be pertaining to Battlefield. So, we're just all over the place. And I mentioned I would have some data to show you guys. This is the data. This is a graph from Google Trends. And Google Trends is really interesting because you can input a lot of these search terms and game series to gauge relative interest. As you can see in this graph, this is gauging the relative interest for the past 5 years of Battlefield as a game series, Call of Duty as a game series, Call of Duty Warzone, Battlefield 2042 as a game, and Battlefield 1 as a game. Keep in mind this is only for the United States, but it's such a large sample size that you can pretty much assume that it's going to be the same for any region you select. And taking a look at the data here, the funniest thing that I have to point out is, do you see that big spike where Battlefield 2042 and Battlefield shoot up near the middle of the graph? That is Battlefield 2042's release. And just for comparison's sake, let's take a look at Call of Duty. Battlefield 2042's release only reached the average interest level that Call of Duty holds 24/7. Let that sink in for a second. Battlefield has to hype up and release an entire new game for it to even hope to equal Call of Duty's interest only for a few weeks. And then the sections before and after that spike are really just self-explanatory. Can you just take a look at the absolute desolate wasteland for a second? If this was a heart graph in like a fucking hospital, the patient would be dead. Absolutely flatlined. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, all the little troughs and spikes you see in Battlefield and Battlefield 2042's lines here, yeah, that's when new seasons release. That's like Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and so on and so forth. It didn't even move the line. So then I got curious and I was like, well, I wonder how Delta Force Hawk Ops stacks up to the current state of Battlefield 2042. Obviously, it's a little, in Delta Force's favor, obviously, because the game has a new alpha and there's much more general hype and interest just because it's new. But taking a look at the last 30 days, Delta Force even has more interest than the Battlefield series in general, like as a franchise for a couple weeks here, actually. So the sad reality of the situation is, Battlefield right now, I think actually is in its saddest point ever. I don't even think it's debatable. There is no new content. The next game is coming out in over a year. We haven't heard a single thing about it. There's no news, no updates, no views, no interest. The existing player base is stuck playing the same old Battlefield games that they've been playing for the past 4 to 10 years every single day. And before someone misinterprets that statement, I am not saying you're not allowed to play Battlefield 4 and have fun, obviously. But I'm just saying playing a decade-year-old game is kind of insane. Is it not? Like, that's kind of crazy that the Battlefield player base has to go back and play BF3 or Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4 to have any relative, fun or reminiscence of their great franchise. The Battlefield franchise hasn't had a relevant installment for literally 7 or 8 years. We're talking since Battlefield 1. That is depressing. So just to reiterate, yeah, I think we are at the lowest point ever. And to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, you can call this cope. I don't really see how it could get much worse. So thank you so much for the Twitch chatter that brought this topic up for this extremely cheery and heartwarming video. I'm sure everyone watched it is thanking you for that. If you enjoy the content, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting a lot more Delta Force, a lot more Battlefield news, of course, and really anything FPS related. Are you guys interested at all in, say, Splitgate 2 or any of these other FPS games? Let me know in the comment section. I will make videos on them if you're interested. Be sure to stop by the streams as I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders and this very YouTube channel. Turn notifications on to know when I go live. And of course, follow my Twitter, Instagram, and join the Discord. All links are in the description. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next video.